No.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us at our next Business Success webinar. Today we have two wonderful presenters. They are with Print, Save, Repeat. Um, we have Arnett and Nathan who will be presenting today on business printing. If you have any questions, please include them in the chat. We will be answering questions towards the end, or feel free to ask during the event and we'll try to see if we could unmute you and ask questions directly to both of them. You'll also be receiving a recording of today's session in case you missed it, or if you want to rewatch it, you could go ahead and do that. And you'll be receiving it in our post-event email later this afternoon. But with that, I'd like to go ahead and hand it off to Arnett and Nathan here to take it away and present today's presentation. Thank you so much for doing this, guys.
Yeah. Hello, I'm Arnett. This is my partner here, Nathan, and we're going to be discussing business printing. So first off, we have a short video we would like to play, which is going to sum up a lot of people's frustrations, and then we'll get into the webinar.
Could you print this for me? Yeah, on it. I am in a rush. I can scan it for you as well if you like. Nope, just printing. Photocopy? No, I'm fine, thanks. I'll throw in a free fax just to be sure. I just need it printed. Got it, great. I'm out of blue ink. Oh, I only need it in black and white? I can't print in black and white without blue ink. Why? You can order an ink cartridge through me if you like. No, I'll just go to a shop. You can order groceries. Why do I need to order groceries through a printer? Mango? Hello, I'd like to buy a blue ink cartridge for my printer, please. You can't actually get blue cartridges. Oh. You need traditional colours like cyan, magenta, egg yolk and flour. Which one of those is the most blue? Cyan is blue. So that one then? Which printer do you have? Epson. Is it a 55384 or an NH32? How can I find out which printer model I have? It should just say. Which model are you? I don't know. It's unclear which one it is, so I'll take both. That'll be £750. For 2 ink cartridges? Okay, 2 ink cartridges, that'll be £7,458. Thanks for the ink. You're welcome. Now can you print out this form? What does that sound mean? I don't recognise this computer. This is the only computer you've ever been connected to. Mother? I'm reinstalling you. Father? Reinstalled. Great to meet you in this new computer. Could you now print out this book? Why are you flashing? There's a Wi-Fi issue. My computer says the Wi-Fi's fine. What was that? Printing 1 of 1. Oh, God. But that's not what I asked you to print. Please, can you just print the form? Sure. Yeah, I'm so sorry. I'm just about to print them. Printing 1 of 73. It's a 2-page form. What if I printed them in landscape? No. Diagonal? Portrait. Well, send me the form then. I already did. There's no paper. I'm looking at the paper. Well, I can't feed it. Okay, well, how about this? Paper jam. Paper jam. Paper jam. Sorry. You just seems to have done it. I'm printing it. Printing 1 of 2. Oh, God. Thank you so much. I'm out of ink again.
All right, so she really went over quite a bit of the things that customers have experienced before. So first off, I want to get into what are the differences between toner versus ink. Well, in short, the main difference between printer toner versus ink is a type of material used to print. Ink cartridges house liquid ink and are employed by inkjet printers. And toner cartridges are house toner, obviously, and it's also in powder form, and they're employed by a laser printer. The base ingredients for a printer ink is usually going to be like an oil, soybean oil, or even petroleum, while toner is just a finely ground up plastic like a polyester. And obviously it's used in a laser printer or also copy machines. Once it's on the paper for toner, it's applied with the laser printer and it's fused together with heat versus ink. When it's an inkjet printer, the print head containing thousands like tiny little holes, and these tiny openings drop microscopic droplets of ink onto the paper in the printer, and it dries really, really fast. That's pretty much the big differences between ink and toner. I know a lot of people experience going to the store and noticing there's so many options for ink and toner, and they might not know which one they want. They just want it to work on their printer. So that's one of the things that we're going to go over in this webinar as well, is what is the best printer for your business needs.
And that's one reason why knowing a basic difference between ink and toner is important, because depending on your needs, since ink is a liquid, it can dry up quicker. So if you're not using your printer very much, infrequent use, sometimes an ink cartridge can dry up over time. Toner cartridge with its toner inside of it, it's not liquid, so it has a longer shelf life.
All right, so choosing a printer for your business needs. So first off, you need to know, what are you actually looking for that works for your business? So do you need fax capabilities? Do you need copying? Do you need to scan? Those are really important things you need to think about for your type of business. Not all those answers might not be available in the beginning, but you have to think long-term, because this is a business need machine, and you're going to grow with this machine, and you want it to last as long as possible. So if you think that you might be scanning, let's say, only a few times a month, you might really want to be interested in getting a multifunction machine. And then also, if let's say you're in the mortgage loans type of signing or notary, you're definitely going to want to make sure you get a separate type of scanner. Even though multifunction machines have a lot of these capabilities and features, when they're used heavily, they can actually wear down pretty quickly, and also, unfortunately, break the printer. So if you end up being one of these people that works with a lot of paper and you do a lot of scanning, you're going to want to also make sure you purchase a separate scanner. And that's based, once again, it's based on your business needs. Once again, if you're working in an office setting or working in a home business, if you're in a home business and most of your transactions are based, or communications are based via email, then you might be okay with getting a small printer. Most likely a laser printer. We always choose laser printers over inkjet printers because, as my colleague here stated, if they're not used frequently, the inkjet printers, they can dry up, as well as the supplies for those machines usually are not interchangeable or replaceable. So that's why we lean towards laser printers. They make quite a bit of different types of laser printers that can work for home businesses. Another thing too about picking the right size printer, it comes down to, once again, maintenance. If you don't feel that you're comfortable being like a little handy, then you're going to want to make sure you get a printer that's possibly slightly a little larger. So then that way you can replace some of those maintenance issues, such as a fuser or a maintenance kit. Those things can be fairly easy to replace as long as the printer is large enough, so that way you don't need to break out like a monocle and some tweezers and try to make all these things or try to replace all these type of things. Another thing too about choosing the right printer, the toner. How frequently are you printing? Do you want to replace your cartridges every 6 months, every month, or once a year? Typically, cartridges can last around 24 months where they stay fresh. They can go longer than that, but they do start to degrade. So those are things you really want to think about as you're choosing your printer. You might also want to consider the printing speed, such as more along the lines of like in an office setting, you got several people using that same printer. You might want to choose a printer that has a faster print speed, so that way more people can use it without it clogging up the business lines. And so that's really something you also want to think about. And then also there's the new things such as like Wi-Fi capabilities, smartphone capabilities. Do you need to print while you're actually on the go? So that way, when you come back to the office or your home business, are these things already printed for you and collated? Those are new features. And once again, with new features, there might be new issues that might arise from that. So it's really important to make sure you understand what your business needs are, so that way you can be well informed when you purchase this printer. You have anything you want to add on to that one?
Yeah, just adding, some of these things seem pretty simple, but you'd be surprised, we're not a printer manufacturer, we work with the suppliers themselves, but it's surprising just how many calls we get where people reach out, and then through the course of the conversation, we discover that they're having issues because they didn't consider some of these things before. Some things that are pretty simple, like what type of cartridge do I need? How high should my yield be, print speed? And then they end up with issues down the road just because they didn't consider some of these things. So just having an understanding of what the requirements will be, and even like Arnett mentioned, maybe what the future could look like, what you maybe grow into, that'll give you a good idea of a good machine to choose so that you can you have one that'll work with your business. And we're always happy to help, recommend any machines that we feel fit needs if we think we have a good handle on that.
And then another thing to add on this, on the printing needs, it's having a black and white printer or a color printer. To be honest, if you print very few colored copies, then it's most likely best to then get a second printer, possibly one of these inkjet printers, because if you're printing, I say, around 100 copies of color copies in a month, you can get away with a decent inkjet printer that's pretty cost efficient, and it will pretty much help you out versus buying a laser color printer. Laser color printers can be very expensive, and the supplies on those printers usually are a lot smaller than a regular monochrome, which is black, and I mean significantly less page per yield. And once again, page per yield would be like if the cartridge states 5,000 pages per cartridge, well, that's also based on the 5% coverage. And the 5% coverage is how much toner is actually on that paper, how much data are you printing per page. So that's where the industry comes up with this page yield or page count when you purchase a toner cartridge or even a inkjet cartridge. I personally, when I have customers that reach out to us and they state that they're looking for a color printer, I do ask these type of questions like, how often are you printing colors? What are you actually printing? Because depending on their answers or responses, I might need to let them know that if they're like a car dealership, then they might be interested in actually outsourcing that to a printing company, because they're printing lots of flyers and marketing supplies. And when it comes to that large scale, 5,000, 10,000 a week, a month, it might be better suited if you just outsource that and you do it on a monthly or a bi-monthly type of scale. And then if they're telling me that they, like I stated earlier, that they're doing 20 copies and then, or it's not customer facing. That's another big thing too, is when you're printing, what you print for yourself and for your office might be different from what you print for the end user, such as a customer facing document. Once again, you might want the best or top of the line quality printer that has a high resolution, so that way you can show exactly what you designed to your customer. Those are things you want to also consider when you're choosing your printer. Is it just for you in your office, or would this also be customer facing? Because it does matter. It definitely does matter when it comes to print quality. And all these machines do so many different things, but choosing the right one for you is most important, and it's above cost. So let's get into cost. As I stated earlier, page yield. one key condition that affects page yield in toner cartridges is the toner coverage rate, which is the average percentage of the page that's covered in toner per print job. A page yield, as I stated earlier, is based on 5% toner coverage. And if your printer averages a job of, let's say, 6 to 7% toner coverage, then on a 10,000 page toner cartridge, you'll most likely yield a significantly less, around like 7,000 to 8,000. So that's really, really important because a lot of people don't understand that. They really don't know that. They haven't been taught that, and the industry does kind of keep that kind of quiet. So everyone has a bottom line, and at the end of the day, you want to save as much money as possible. Well, one of the ways of doing that is going back to printing or choosing the right printer. As I stated earlier, if you get a printer and that printer, let's say, has a page yield of 1,500 pages, and you bought it frugally, around $100 to $200. Those type of printers, unfortunately, will not have access to larger page yields. And at the end of the day, toner is the #1 cost on a printer, as well as ink. It's the #1 cost because you're going to constantly be replacing it, especially if you plan on keeping this printer for 5 years plus. So you're going to constantly be buying supplies for it, and you don't want to choose one that just doesn't fit your business needs, that you're changing it out every week, or that you bought a brand new printer and it's just came out on the market and there's only one available supplier at Staples who has this toner, such as like HP. And now this toner cartridge is $400, but you bought the printer for $200, as well it only prints 1,500 copies. And now you're buying 2-3 cartridges a month just to get by. That would be a prime example of the printer isn't the right fit. So that's really important. So when you look at that in a longer, when we look at it in the course of an annual amount, most people are looking to spend at least about $100 per cartridge to $200 a cartridge, and they average, or on average, people expect it to last a few months. That average can change based on different people's business needs, but from our perspective of dealing with laser printers, a lot of people want to, not have to worry about their printer supplies for at least 3 months, and that's because it costs so much. I mean, it's roughly about once you get the right size printer, you're looking at 0.001 cent per page. That's what you're really trying to target, because then if you get a toner cartridge that's roughly around 15 to 25,000 pages, you're looking at around anywhere from $159 to $199, which does work. And that type of medium-sized business printer does work with a lot of different styles of businesses. It goes from like dentist offices to small car dealerships to legal offices and even retail. So there's a lot of larger retail companies that process these online orders, and they print out packing slips and labels to facilitate. So a lot of businesses really like those type of printers that can have access to around 20,000 pages. Do you have anything you want to add to that?
I know.
So yeah, that's printing costs. And then we have printing media. So printing media is actually what you're printing on. There's different types of media, obviously, and I can't get into every aspect of paper, but if you ever went to Staples or Office Max, paper is actually a really big thing. You have different weights, you have slightly different sizes, but to me, they technically all look pretty much the same, but they don't all function the same. And that's really important to understand is, what are you printing on? So, for instance, I have like a regular piece of paper. This is either like an A7, same, the cheap stuff you get in a case at any supply store, business supply store. That's pretty common. Well, with this type of paper, you can run it through pretty much any printer or copier, and it pretty much works. But I definitely understand that when you're looking for a certain quality, and as I stated earlier, it might be presented to a customer. You're going to be looking at possibly a different type of paper or media. You might want something that's heavier. You might want something that has a gloss. All those things can affect how the toner is applied onto the paper. So that's where the settings come in. So it's very important to make sure you think about these things as you're getting ready to purchase that right business printer. Are you going to be printing out labels to ship? Are you going to be printing out labels for any other reason? Possibly, are you going to be doing any mailers such as postcards, address labels, things of that nature? And once again, these are things you have to consider when you're looking for your printer. And then when you do purchase the printer, you need to go ahead and change the settings. There's plenty of settings on printing media on the printer. It will tell you, are you printing on legal paper? Are you printing on this regular cheap stuff? Or are you printing on a label? The reason why you have to change it is because the fusers on these printers, they actually need to know what type of media that you're going to be printing on, so that way it can adjust and heat and apply higher heat to thicker media, or less heat for something thinner. That's really, really important. And to really get into more of the label situation, we manufacture pressure sensitive labels, so we're on a large scale. So we're really well versed in how printing works. So if you find out that like you're also going to be printing things for, like, let's say you have a small business and a small home business, and you're going to be printing shipping labels, and you want to use your regular printer, well, that it can work. But once again, when you have it at a higher heat on the label settings, and let's say you're doing this 100 times a week, well, that starts to add up in the course of a month. That printer might work, but it will start to break down, because that setting is always keeping it at a max. It's always on a Lamborghini style of revving its engine versus a nice economical Honda that might run for a lot longer, but yet it just isn't going to go as fast. So probably a bad analogy, but that's really important that you think about that as you're getting ready to purchase a printer. Because if you find out that that's something that you are going to be possibly doing, printing a lot of labels or postcards, you might want to look at a separate printer that specializes in these things, such as like a thermal printer. So one of the good things about printing on labels, thermal labels, is it doesn't take any ink. It's all applied by heat. And so you don't have to worry about constantly replacing toner cartridges and things like that. So that's something you definitely want to consider, because if you can save money in your business by not using any toner, then why not do that, right? So that's something to also consider. Another thing too about labels is there are temporary labels, and then there are permanent labels that you can print. So for instance, if you do end up needing a label to print labels, let's say, and you're just looking to just ship labels or shipping labels, then yes, that's temporary. Those last about a month or two before they start to fade and discolor. But let's say you want to print a label and to apply it to like your inventory shelves, to label different type of product that you will be shipping out or that you just want to have permanent, then you will need to purchase a direct thermal printer that also has direct thermal transfer capabilities. So that's when you add a ribbon. Adding a ribbon into one of these type of thermal printers will then turn that label into a permanent label. It won't fade. As long as it's not in direct sunlight, it won't fade. It will last for years and years as long as the adhesive will stay bonded to whatever the surface you're looking for. But once again, we can get really deep into labels, but at this time, I really want to concentrate on just what type of printer your business might need, and that's pretty much what we're going to stick to. You have anything you want to add to?
Well, yeah, I guess I'd maybe just a real world situation. I'm not certain how many, maybe pharmacies are part of the chamber, if any. But when you were talking about labels and printing media, we've noticed that a lot of pharmacies, they'll have a printer, they print a lot of pharmacy labels, and either they'll just set their printer, take it as it is, or they'll set up their printer for some type of like custom type. There's a setting on the printer for that. And then they notice that when they start to print their pharmacy labels, that the toner begins to rub off. And then they think maybe they have an issue with the printer or the cartridge, and they're replacing it and going through all these issues when in reality, the simple fact was there's a setting on the printer specifically designed for labels where you can just make one quick setting that'll change how your fuser heats things, and then you'll have great prints. So when you're thinking about what you're printing on print media, just understand that your printers are actually pretty sophisticated. There's a lot of technology invested in them, and so yeah, when you're thinking about what you need to print, how things are performing, there's a lot of things to consider, and you can always ask for help from IT or any company that handles that, and maybe get some good insights. But were you talking about basic troubleshooting now?
Yes.
All right.
So basic troubleshooting. We think that it's important for everyone to know some of the tricks of the trade, because they actually work on many different printers, and a lot of people experience these type of issues, and it can be a headache not understanding how to resolve some of these issues that can be solved fairly easy. So like when your printer indicates a low toner, when your printer indicates low toner, we always recommend printing out a device statistics report. That's a report that your printer can print out while it still has toner in that cartridge, and it can give you a full diagnostics on your printer, as well as tell you how many pages you have remaining on that cartridge. These cartridges and supplies have microchips in them that communicate back and forth and with each other, and it's really important for you to know what you're actually spending your money on. So sometimes people feel that they're not getting all the pages that they paid for. They feel like the cartridge ran out too quick. Well, running this report when your cartridge says low toner can actually give you that answer. So once you run that report, it will tell you how many pages you printed on that on that machine in history, the full history, and then it will give you supply information. Supply information would be the supplies that are installed currently with that cartridge. It will tell you exactly how many pages was printed on that cartridge. And then it's just simple math. If you paid, $200 for a cartridge and it states it's going to give you 20,000 prints, and then you see that you're low and it tells you printed, 19,000, then you got your money's worth. But if it says that you printed only, 10,000, then that's when you got to look at the coverage history, which is right below the supply information. Once again, that coverage history will tell you if you're at that 5%, then you should be getting closer to that 20,000. And that would be a time to reach out to the manufacturer to find out why this cartridge underperformed. But if you were at 6, 7%, 8%, then yes, you will get thousands of prints less. So that's really important to do, is print out that report. And then finally on that report, it will also tell you if you're also starting to run low on another supply, such as an imaging unit or a drum that also assists in the printing, especially since laser printers usually these days are a 2 printing process, which is you'll have a toner cartridge that just holds toner, and then the imaging unit or drum, which actually provides the image on the paper as well as wipes off the excess toner, so that way you get a beautiful quality print. So that's one of the things that we really recommend doing, so that way you know where your money's actually going.
And that's something too where when it comes to a device statistics report, there's a lot of information on there. It's something not everyone has to be a printer expert. So that's kind of where you can reach out to a company who provides services. Even us, we're happy to help. Kind of decipher what that report means and help you kind of get a good understanding of how your prints are performing, and to give you some insight on there based on our experience.
Yeah, and like I stated before about getting a new imaging unit or drum, the reason why that report is really important is because the last thing you want to do is have a brand new toner cartridge. You pull it out, you install it, you're ready to print, and then boom, your printer's now telling you that you don't have any more estimated pages to be printed due to the fact that your imaging unit or drum has expired. That will stop your business. And those are one of the most affordable supplies that you can keep on the shelf for your printer. They usually cost anywhere from $30 to around $80, and they last, usually depending on the size of a cartridge, anywhere from 60,000 to over 100,000 prints. So they're really, really important to keep on your shelf for those days that you really, when your printer states that it needs it. Another thing, so if you notice your printer is printing out, isn't printing, but you're getting an error code, it's always best to, if you notice your printer isn't printing, but you're not getting an error code and you just don't know what it's doing, it's just not following any of your commands. The printer's on, it looks fine, you just don't know what to do. One of the best things to do is just usually open up the printer driver and uninstall, and then reinstall. That usually solves a lot of the communication errors that are happening, that the printer is not actually giving you an error for. So usually these newer printers technically automatically install themselves once they're connected to the PC. So the main thing you have to do is just uninstall the printer, and then once you plug it back in, the wizard will find itself, and then it will reinstall itself, and usually that fixes majority of those issues. And that's really good, because I have tons of customers that call and they're just like, my printer just won't print and I don't know what to do. And I ask them what type of printer they have, they tell me, and then I'm like, okay, is it giving you any errors? Is it making any funny noises? And they're just like, no, it just won't do anything. That's the first thing I usually do. I recommend for my customers. That works, I say, about a good 90% of the time. You want to take over this one when you were recommending?
Yeah. So Arnett had mentioned it earlier, but a lot of modern printers, they have basically a 2-in-1 print system. So you have your cartridge, whether you're using ink or toner, and that houses your ink and toner. And then you have another component, which is called an imaging unit or a drum. And that part helps, write the images onto the page. It helps transfer the toner onto the page. So a lot of times, if you know what type of printer you have, if you have one of those printers with the 2-in-1 system, a lot of times if you see light print before your cartridge is actually empty, some people just automatically think it's the cartridge they bought, especially if they're using an aftermarket product, but they don't realize that imaging unit is actually that part does the main printing process and helps transfer the toner. So just understanding, what kind of print system you have, if it's a 2-in-1, and if you're seeing light print, then almost 90% of the time, it's just a quick swap out with the imaging unit, which is pretty inexpensive, and that'll take care of you. So that's one quick troubleshooting step. I guess we talked about already, if your toner's rubbing off of your prints, it might be a settings issue. So it just might be connecting up the right printer setting with your media. That's just a quick one. And I think last one, just to share, there's a bunch of others, but just want to make it kind of quick and maybe a few things we see pretty often. Last one is, you might be getting your printer might be telling you that it's jamming, and
Paper jam.
Yeah, like in that video. And then maybe it's jamming and you're trying to look inside the printer and you don't see a jam, you can't find it. but your printer keeps giving you the error. Sometimes that's an issue with, maybe you might have it, usually we see that with an older machine. If it's an older machine, sometimes the rollers and the tray are having trouble picking up the paper. And so it gives a paper jam issue when it's really just swapping out some rollers. So those are just some quick troubleshooting tips. Didn't want to give too much there, but yeah, you can always reach out to your IT department or the company you purchased your products from, or we're always happy to help as well with some troubleshooting. So you can reach out to us. I don't think our contact information is on the slide, but we can get it to you another time. But yeah, that's just some information on business printing. Hopefully some of that was helpful. Not expecting you to have everything there, but maybe able to take away one thing that could help you out, and yeah, help you out with your printing. But I think just to reiterate what our Annette started out with, which was really great, is just understanding what your needs are, what you have to do, what your requirements are. That'll help you pick the best printer for those needs, and then that printer, that'll also determine your costs. Sometimes just making a bad choice in the beginning, that can lead to more costs down the road. Or even if you may have if you make the best choice, your costs may even be wherever they'll land, but you'll know that that's a good cost because you chose the correct printer, which leads to the correct supplies. So I think I'm not sure if we're opening up questions. I'm not sure if anyone had any, but yeah, we'll leave it there.
Awesome, thank you. We do have a couple questions here. I am seeing the chat. So Cerelia is asking, who are some of your larger clients?
I would say UPS. UPS is one of our larger clients. We print the quote unquote free shipping labels that they give out to the merchants. So we actually manufacture that pretty much on the southwest of the United States. So UPS stores, any clients that UPS has, that they offer the free shipping labels so that way they can ship out products. We actually manufacture that.
When it comes to local, for the cartridge side at least, we're really proud of our partnership with U-Haul. We're able to serve a lot of their southwestern locations, and their headquarters are in Phoenix. So we were able to develop a partnership with them and service a lot of their toner. So yeah, logistics, distribution, those are some of our larger clients, whether the retail space,
the Gap.
we work with them.
Oh, Napa, here in Phoenix, the Napa Distribution Center in downtown Phoenix. We've been their main suppliers for toner cartridges for a really long time now. We have quite a bit. The Defense Commissary, we supply them with scale labels for their meat departments and bakery. And that's all over the world. We're shipping labels. Yeah, we have quite a few larger customers.
And just try to provide great supplies and good information too, to help people make the right choice. Sometimes it could be us, other times it might be someone else, but just try to develop a good partnership.
Awesome, thank you. And one question that I had was, how were you guys able to manage your business through the pandemic, or what new things have you guys done, or pivot strategies to help your business stay afloat?
Yeah, well, one thing that was interesting is, so we're a manufacturing company. We make the supplies, the cartridges and the labels. And what we were able to stay open because at least on the label side, a lot of the products that we make, some of them are shipping labels, and we work in the grocery industry, so some grocery labels as well. So with the uptick in people staying at home and purchasing groceries and whatnot, people needed suppliers that could stay open, keep their staff safe, and manufacture products that would help get supplies across the country and, eliminate those, shortages and whatnot. So, so we were able to stay open. Some things we, did obviously just made some steps here to take care of our staff and, make sure people were staying safe while they're still able to come to work. And then, really just trying to help these industries, logistics and groceries, stay afloat, get things moved across the country. So just kind of keying in on some of those products that we already make and, trying to provide, great service to just help them keep moving. So there wasn't too much of a pivot because we were kind of in that industry but just trying to enhance our service there and continue to help those businesses out.
I do want to add to what he was saying. When it comes to, like you said, we're already in that space. So everyone needs a label, and the labels have exploded now that everybody, like you stated, is staying home, and majority of retails now are doing these online pickups as well as shipping. So it actually grown. So the mom and pops started reaching out. The larger businesses like the Bashes and the Albertsons, they're locked into these larger contract agreements, and we fit perfectly because where we're at logistically. So while a lot of their ordering habits were on consignment, we were able to assist them. But we were able to assist them in coming up with new types of labels, as well as small new runoff labels that they couldn't get from their main vendors. So we were able to do that, as well as the mom and pops calling us, because now that their businesses had to pivot, they had to start putting new labels on different things and adding online ordering through Shopify and Instacart and things like that. So they also went custom. They wanted things to have their name on it, their business name on it. They want their company logos, and that was something we were able to provide for them, even though a lot of the larger printing companies wouldn't support them because their need is just too small. No large company really wants to run 5 boxes for a customer who's going to order like once a year. But for us, we thought, sure, if they're okay with the wait time, the lead time, then sure, we'll definitely take care of these customers. So that's some of the things that we changed during the pandemic. Is you say yes. That's pretty much it. We say yes to everything and don't turn down anything if it can be, worked.
Great. And then I'm just seeing here that Karen's on the line. And she says that she's used your services multiple times and has had the best experience and really appreciates your expertise and guidance. So she's saved a lot of money on having quality documents. So thank you, Karen, for sharing.
Thanks, Karen.
I guess one last question. Any promotions or anything, any special discounts that you guys may have that you may want to share with everyone who's on the line?
Yeah, we do have one that I can definitely think of right now. We have a Phoenix local pricing list. It's not on our website, which is printsaverepeat.com, where we pretty much put our normal retail items. But if you can give us a call and contact us, we'll definitely be able to email you the Phoenix pricing list. It's for some of the stock product labels that we have. And then we just recently came up with an ASU marketing strategy, and it does provide discounts on our toner side for local customers as well. But once again, you have to reach out to us directly so we can send that to you. We don't really have that on our website because it's not for everyone. Obviously, it's only for our local customers.
Gotcha. Thank you so much. And then one last question. Is the printing industry increasing or decreasing because of technology? So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think, well, so there's kind of two sides to it. When it comes to, I guess, the label side of the print industry, and that's some laser printers also like Arnett had mentioned, more label printers, direct thermal transfer, kind of everything. Labels are identification tools. Kind of everything has to be identified. You really don't think about it as much, but if you just walk around your house and look at something that you buy or have in there, almost everything has a label on it because labels are a way to identify things. And there may be something that's better going forward, but there's not really sure what that'll look like in the future. What could replace labels? So labels are definitely a mainstay and seem to be increasing. When it comes to printing as well, I guess with printers themselves, we see that kind of staying pretty steady. There are efforts obviously to be sustainable and to maybe eliminate some paper costs, but sometimes it is always helpful to have a physical copy of something. So things are kind of always in flux. There are always new technologies, new printers that are coming out, whether it's communicating with your smartphone or different things. So there's the printer industry is always moving, whether it's kind of going up and down, but it stays pretty steady, and especially on the label side, it's really kind of picking up as of late.
And also to add what he was saying, when it comes to printing toners and inks, it's definitely not like the 80s or the early 90s, where everybody was just printing wild and making copies like crazy. So yes, it's definitely has changed since then. But I would say since emails have become the most common form of communication for the last 20 years, printing has pretty much been a steady, has remained pretty steady. It hasn't gone up too much, and it also hasn't gone down too much. There's just certain industries that just can't move away from that. That would most likely be like car dealerships, a lot of law firms. They just can't get away from needing to print. So they really do help us stay afloat as well.
Great. And I do see here that Hilda raised her hand, so let me see if she can ask you guys directly a question. Okay. Hilda, you could go ahead and unmute yourself and then ask your question.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear it.
Hilda, are you still wanting to ask your question? You could go ahead and unmute yourself.
Send the chat, I'm good. Thanks.
Okay. All right. So I think that was the last question that we had. And I know we're a little bit short in time, but that's okay. We'll share Arnett's and Nathan's contact information for everyone to receive in our post of an email. You'll also receive the recording of this session as well. So be on the lookout for that later this afternoon. We appreciate your time today for presenting really valuable information. I was not aware that of most of this stuff, so really great information. And thank you all for attending, and hope everyone has the great rest of your day. Join us at our next session next Wednesday. Please visit our website for more details.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Yeah, thank you so much.
Bye-bye.